What is going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. Happy Friday. I think it's Friday. Everything's kind of a blur right now. The summer is just flying by. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Here we are, middle of June. Before you know it, July is going to be here. Anyways, this has nothing to do with the video, but we're going to talk about Pokemon 151, Pokemon Card 151, the Japanese equivalent of Scarlet and Violet 151. It is a lot of fun to open. It has been a lot of fun to open. We are almost at the 1-year anniversary of Pokemon 151 coming out, and it created such a stir right out of the gate. At the time of the release of Pokemon 151. Japanese booster boxes really started climbing quite a bit. There was a lot more attention being paid to Japanese sets, especially the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet era. You remember, like, the full art Miriam being super expensive over in the Scarlet set, Scarlet EX over in Japan, or Violet EX, whichever one it was, super expensive. There's a lot of trainer cards that were super expensive over in Japan, and there was a lot of buzz going on, and we've talked about it before. You know, the opportunity presents itself, people try and take advantage of it. There was probably some manipulation. It was very, very frustrating to be a Pokemon card collector for Japanese cards. Now, me personally, I never got into Japanese cards. Growing up, I always collected English cards in my years of competitive play during the XY era, during the Sun and Moon era. It was really a lot of English cards because I wanted to read the cards. I needed to be able to play with the cards, and that was what was important to me. I can't read Japanese. I can't speak Japanese. There's nothing, like, I couldn't open up a lot of Japanese products, so I didn't. But Pokemon 151 was a lot of fun to open. The only problem with it was scalped like crazy. Before it even was released, booster boxes were selling for over $100, which is crazy to think about because the MSRP for a booster box in Japan is only like $45 after shipping. After you ship it over here, it's only like $45. There's probably some additional fees and things like that. So if you could find a new set release for around that price, you were feeling really, really good. But Pokemon 151 was not like that at all, and it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But it did introduce these Master Balls, this idea of unique, an exclusive item. We've talked about that word a lot lately, the unique, the exclusivity of it. Master Balls, when you're only getting one per booster box, and when you have over 100 Master Balls, if you want to truly master a set like Pokemon 151, you have to have the Reverse Holo equivalent and a Master Ball equivalent, because a Master Set is basically every card that you can pull from a booster pack. So the idea of having a Master Ball Pikachu included, well, you've got to have 3 different Pikachu variants in order to get a Master Set. You have to have the regular version, you have to have a Reverse Holo version, and then you have to have the Master Ball version. Now, obviously, you should collect the way you want to collect, and if you have a different definition of what a Master Set entails, like, that's totally fine. But if you go off the definition of everything that you could possibly pull from a booster pack, you need the Master Balls. And that was a very cool inclusion that Pokemon did that didn't necessarily carry over to Scarlet and Violet 151. And there's still a lot of Pokemon card collectors who are frustrated and upset that it didn't carry over. However, now that the script has changed a lot and completely flipped, obviously Pokemon 151 had a massive reprint. It seems like, I think it got another reprint. Booster boxes are readily available for sub $60. You can find them all day for $50 to $60, basically MSRP, which is absolutely phenomenal, absolutely amazing. And while the singles of the set have dropped considerably, it actually, if you're looking for a set to open up where you can basically get your value out of it, Pokemon 151 is the way to go. Now, unfortunately, the set did come out a year ago, so a lot of people have already opened up quite a bit of the set, and unfortunately, they paid scalper prices for it because you couldn't find them anywhere else. It's a very different distribution process over in Japan, and the legality purposes of sending them over to the United States, it's just, there's a lot of gray areas surrounded by everything. But now that you can find booster boxes for much, much less, it actually makes sense to open, and that never happens. Rarely should you open up a set of Pokemon cards and expect to get your value out of it. However, doing the math and looking at the pull rates for Pokemon 151, things have changed quite a bit. And I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So these are all the cards that you can find in Pokemon 151. There's a lot of them, and I'm going to try my best to go through this relatively quickly because we've got 2 full rows of Master Balls. Obviously, there is a Master Ball for every single card in the set outside of the Secret Rares and outside of the regular art EXs. All this data was pulled from pokedata.io. Highly recommend checking them out. They have up-to-date pricing for TCG Player, for eBay, for comps on Japanese sets, as well as English English sets. I think it's great for tracking Japanese prices because you don't have really an equivalent for that in the United States other than looking on eBay, most recent sales and things like that. Pokedata.io does it all for you. I am in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Pokedata.io. I just like using their website for this purpose. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. But here is a list of every single Master Ball that we've got. We've got quite a few of them. So we're going to go through them relatively quickly. You do see dropping prices a lot, like this Pikachu right here at the top, which used to be 400 and which used to be $450, now only about $201. So still relatively expensive. Obviously, this is going to be one of the most popular cards in the set. I believe it is the most expensive card in the set right now. $201.62 is the most recent sales that you could find on eBay. It is also important to note that these are all raw prices. None of these are graded prices at all. I didn't take any data surrounding PSA 10s or PSA 9s. I don't personally collect a whole lot of graded cards. Maybe that'll change in the future, but right now, again, the whole idea of putting something in a binder or playing the actual card game with it is just something that excites me. Obviously, you can't do that if you have a card graded. But here is the Pikachu Master Ball promo, or Master Ball from the set, $201.62. You still have some other expensive ones as well, like the Erica's Invitation here at $96.04. I believe the Gengar is at the bottom. That's another one I think that's the second most expensive Master Ball. We'll get to that one in a minute. But for the most part, a lot of Master Balls have fallen to the low double digits. So somewhere between $15, $20, $30, somewhere around there. This Mewtwo is at $38.88. You've got the Eevee and the Dragonite that are at $46 and $45 respectively. The Flareon's at $30. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can kind of pause the video if you want and you want to look at any of the ones that maybe you have to see what price points they're at. The Magikarp has gone up a little bit. That one's up to $39.25. You have the Snorlax at $28.85. Obviously, the main catch and the main thing behind this set is that you have a lot of cards that are all attributed to the OG, right? The original 151. That's the whole idea behind the set. Now, who knows what we're going to get from this upcoming Team Rocket set that Pokemon has kind of teased, that PokeBeach kind of talked about, but it would be really, really cool to see something along these lines with a Master Ball promo with something, or a Master Ball variant with something like that. I think would really be cool, or a Team Rocket, something obviously that screams exclusivity, but we'll see if Pokemon does something like that or not. You've got Growlithe over here at $12.58, Moltres at $15.33, Slowbros at $18.33. Like I said, I'm going to go through these really, really fast because you can kind of look up prices on your own. You don't really need me to do that for you. Chansey at $15.70. The Seeking is at $12.13 down there. You've got the Ammonite at $10.33. The Marowak is at $9.54. So a lot of them that have also dropped into single-digit pricing, which is absolutely amazing. You have the Giovanni's Charisma here at $23.44. That one's a little bit more expensive. Here's the Gengar over here. That one's currently selling for $155. So even though the Pikachu has dropped by over half of its pricing, Gengar seems to be holding on fairly strong, still at $155. A lot of single-digit pricing over here. This extra type belt, the cheapest one in the set, at $2.58. You can still find a lot of Master Ball promos, or I keep saying promos, a lot of Master Balls for fairly cheap. Master Ball Reverse Holos for fairly cheap on eBay if you look. So it still does make sense to maybe open up some product, but then also buy singles because you don't want to pull a ton of duplicates or things like that. There's the Magnemite at $13.80. You've got the Farfetch'd at $18.87. A lot of them between $10 and $20. You've got the Daisy's Care right here at $20.49. You've got a bunch of other ones in the low teens, 11, 12, somewhere around that pricing. $16.25 for the Grimer, $11.80 for the Machop. Even the Bills Transfer not doing too bad at $23.07. If we go over to the secret rares in this set, a lot of secret rares doing worse, way worse than even some of the Master Balls. Now, obviously, you only get one secret rare per box. You could get a busted box and get a couple of them, but you're basically guaranteed one. That's the great thing about Japanese product, is that you're guaranteed a secret rare, whereas in the English sets, obviously, we've talked about pull rates a lot recently, especially once we got into Temporal Forces. There was no guarantee anymore about a hyper rare or a special illustration rare in boxes. So that's why a lot of people, a lot of Pokemon card collectors like to go over to Japanese cards. Also, the quality so much better in Japanese cards than it seems to be in English cards. We have a lot of issues with batching, with miscuts, with whitening on the edges and centering issues and a lot of things like that, where you get cards that come out of the pack that are supposed to be pack fresh and they look moderately played right away. But here are the secret rares right here. These are the full arts right at the top. Venusaur EX at $7.70, $15.02 for the Charizard. You do have a few more expensive ones. Here's the Erica's Invitation. This is the full art variant of it at $59.99. But look at all of these that are in single digit pricing. Very good for collectors. A lot of opportunities out there to buy cards to fill out your master set. If something like this for the Pokemon 151 set is something you're chasing. Daisy's Care still at $18 for the full art. Then you've got the SAR cards, the special art rares. In the United States, they're called special illustration rares. Over in Japan, they are the special art rares, the SARs. You've got the Charizard EX, which has dipped well below $100. It's dropped about 25% or so over the past couple of months. It's down to $80. The Blastoise EX special illustration rare, a little bit cheaper than its English counterpart, selling for $36.19 currently. The Alakazam EX has dropped a little bit, down to $24.62. You do still have the Mew. Now, the Mew comes in our Ultra Premium collection. We get it as a promo card. In Japan, you have to pull it out of a booster box, and because of that, it's a little bit more difficult to pull. The Mew EX special art rare, $60.03, $147.50 for the Erica's Invitation. This is down quite a bit from where it was upon release, but well cheaper than where it was at that point. Still fairly expensive. The Giovanni's Charisma SAR is $22.16. The Mew Hyper Rare is selling for $17. The Switch Hyper Rare is $9.80, and the Psychic Hyper Rare, Psychic Energy, is at $13.06. If you look at the art rares, we call them illustration rares in the United States. In Japan, they are known as art rares. All of them in single digits, every single one of them. So you have the $8.63 Bulbasaur. Some of them are a little bit higher in the single digits, $7, $8. But for the most part, all of them selling for $2, $3, $4, somewhere in that area. The Charmander's at $8. The Charmeleon's at $6.50. The Squirtle's almost at $6. You have the Pikachu, which is one of the more expensive ones, not quite the most expensive, but selling for $8.10. You do have some fairly cheap ones, fairly inexpensive ones, like the Tangela over here. The Mr. Mime is only $3.55. The Ammonite is $2.07. So for the most part, the majority of your art rare is selling for $2, $3, $4 around that area, that ballpark right there. And then we've got regular arts that are included in the set as well. These are more better known as double rares over in the United States or over in our English set equivalent. Venusaur EX, $3.20. The Charizard EX, most recent sales were at $5.25. You can find a lot of these still for cheaper on eBay. Blastoise EX for $2.30, and basically bulk pricing for a lot of these other ones. Arbok, Ninetales, Wigglytuff, Alakazam, Golem, Kangaskhan, Jinx, and Zapdos, all under $2. And then you have the Mew EX, which is a very competitive card as well. Obviously, Japan having huge tournaments, just absolutely phenomenal tournament structure over there. A little bit different of a format, but Mew EX still a very competitive card over there as well. $4.50 for that one as well. So if we break all this information down and we take averages of how much you're expected to pull, how many of each rarity, and associate an average price point with each of them, this is on average how much you should pull out of a booster box of Pokemon 151. So it's pretty simple the way things break down. You should get approximately 9 hits out of your booster box. You should get 4 regular arts, you should get 3 art rares, 1 secret rare, and 1 Master Ball. Now you could get really lucky, you could pull multiple secret rares, you could pull multiple Master Balls, but for the most part this is the average for a reason. This is probably along the lines of what you're going to get. The average price point of a regular art is $2.26. Since you get 4 of them in your booster box, that means on average your value of your booster box is going to contain $9.04 worth of value out of those double rare cards. When it comes to your art rares, illustration rares over in the English set, $4.79 is your average price. Obviously, you could get some like that Tangela, that's $2. You could get one like that Pikachu, that's $8. This is $4.79 is your average. You get 3 of them in a booster box. That means on average, your booster box of Pokemon 151 is going to contain $14.37 worth of value when it comes to those art rares. When it comes to the secret rares, you're only going to get 1. Now, this is where things get a little bit dicey because you could pull something that's relatively inexpensive, like that full art Jinx or that full art Golem, but you could pull something that is expensive like that SAR Erica or even the full art Erica. Because its averages, we're taking $24.59 is the average value of those secret rares once you lump them all together. Now that means on average your booster box of Pokemon 151 should have approximately $24.59 worth of value. When it comes to Master Balls, this is skewed a little bit, but not as much as you would think because there are so many of them. The variance is so high. For the most part, you're going to pull a Master Ball card that's probably somewhere between $12 and $15, somewhere around there, but the average of it is $17.35. Yeah, you could pull leftovers or Ancient Dome Fossil, which is $6, $7, somewhere around there, or you could pull the Gengar or the Pikachu, but on average, you're probably going to pull a card that's roughly around $15 worth of value. So because of that, your average value of all those piled together is $17.35. So if we break that all down, your average box value, if we add all these together, on average, you should be expected to pull about $65.35 worth of value out of your booster box of Pokemon 151. Now, you can find booster boxes of Pokemon 151 to your door, shipped, fees, everything, for $58.35 on the Sneaker Dunk app. Obviously, I am not affiliated with Sneaker Dunk at all. I have used them a few times in the past. I've never had any issues, but I do know some people who have had issues, so be very careful. Obviously, they do go through an authentication process to make sure that everything is legitimate, but they do kind of back things up a little bit, but it might get a little bit difficult at times. I don't know the whole story behind anything bad that's ever happened. Like I said, I've only used them a few times and I've had no issues with them, but I just want to put that out there to kind of buy at your own risk. Obviously, if you know somebody who sells close to this price point, $65.35 is your expected pull rate out of it, or your pull amount out of it. So if you want to pay a couple dollars to go with somebody that you trust, that you know, obviously I recommend doing that as well. That means you should pull about $7 additional value out of your booster box of Pokemon 151. So when you open up a booster box of any set, we always associate a fun cost, an entertainment cost with opening up that product. You go to the movies, you spend money on the tickets, you go mini golfing, you spend money on the clubs and on the ball and on the experience. Same thing with bowling. This is the fun cost associated with Pokemon. You should be expecting to basically gain $7 of value opening up Pokemon 151. Now, it could get worse. This is your worst box potential right here, $18.66. So if you pull the 4 worst regular arts, the 3 worst art rares, the worst secret rare, and the worst Master Ball as far as value goes, you're only going to pull $18.66 worth of value outside of that bulk that you're going to be getting as well. That's not very good. When you factor in the box cost of $58.35, that means you're basically spending about $40 on fun, which isn't bad, but I think you're not going to be very thrilled with your pulls. You could pull much better. You could pull, your best box potential is $389.24. This is way down from where it was last time we looked at this. Last time we looked at this, your best box potential was $636.10. Obviously, the Pikachu, the Erica, the Charizard, a lot of those cards were more expensive then than where they are now that we've had reprints and more items have hit the market and things like that. Worst box potential that we used to look at was $24.20. So that one hasn't changed a whole lot, but $18.66 is what we're looking at currently, which isn't obviously ideal. So I wanted to put out this information because maybe a lot of people are focusing on Sword and Shield sets. A lot of people are focusing on English Scarlet and Violet sets. But if you want to just open up some cards for fun, Pokemon 151, obviously significantly cheaper right now, much better bang for your buck. So definitely something to consider if you're just looking to rip some packs and have some fun. I want to put that information out there. Hopefully you find it valuable. If you do, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. I always say this, it goes really far for the algorithm, but it helps like spread the channel out there more. At least that's what I'm told. Thank you guys so much for everything. I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, peace.